So it is Thursday the 8th of September 2022. We're looking at the moon, and it's a washed out, so the exposure is more for the clouds. Can't see any Maria. So it is the day where Queen Elizabeth II passed away. I actually was napping some time before deciding to do this video, so I missed the opportunity to take some video earlier where the moon was quite hidden behind clouds, which is perhaps appropriate. So now it's out and the clouds are moving away, and off to my left I can see a bright planet about a hand span and 2/3 away. It's got to be Jupiter, I think. Saturn I don't see. I would expect it to be off to the right somewhat, but I can't see it. It's probably quite dim. Anyhow, let's just readjust this. So I'm using a lens I haven't used. I've actually had it for a while, and I should probably kick myself for not having used it more. It's a Tamron 200-500. 200. Or is it 250? Let's see. It zooms anyway. Let's see. Yeah, it goes all the way out to 200. So we just zoomed all the way out to 200. Probably a bit shaky. So that's 200, showing the overall scene better. And I think I will bring the camera down a little here so we see the clouds. So that's 200 millimeters, and we're shooting at f11. The ISO is at the moment 10,000. 30 of a second is the shutter speed, and then the clouds, what we're seeing is actually a bit brighter than what I'm seeing with the unaided eye. The color balance might be a bit off. We're set for cloudy, which warms things up a bit. I should perhaps change to regular daylight. So we're going to try doing that now in camera, which is one of the nice things you can do. Yeah, so that's daylight. Still fairly warm color, but it is, I can see with the unaided eye, I can see a certain brownness in the clouds, but I think the camera does enhance it. Let's have so this is a big heavy lens. It's about at least 16 inches long, probably 82 or even 95 millimeter filter diameter. Yeah, 95 millimeter filter diameter. Big heavy lens, not massive. There are bigger, heavier lenses, but this is a big chunk of glass, and it's old tech, shall we say. It doesn't have ED glass, etc., although it was formulated to try to keep color fringing to a minimum. And when I was focusing, one of the ways I was focusing on the moon was to focus at a point where the purple color fringing and the green color fringing disappeared. On one side of the focus point you get purple fringing, and on the other side of the focus point you get green color fringing. So I was trying to focus by just adjusting the focus so that there was the minimal amount of color fringing. So it looks like there's hardly any clouds now, at the moment anyway. We'll zoom back in slowly. So this is coming up for 250 millimeters. We'll keep zooming, coming up for 300 millimeters. I'm really sort of kicking myself for not using this lens more, to say nothing of it all. So now we're at, yeah, that was 300. Now we're at 350. Now we're coming up to 400. So it's nice to be able to zoom. So it's a two-touch zoom. You got one nice, large, focusing grip, and yeah, pretty decent zooming grip behind it. So we're coming up now to 500, the highest level here. Yeah, so that's 500 millimeters. And we see a ghost image of the moon there in red. For the look of things, that's quite interesting. So let's try and play with the ghost image a bit. Yeah, so there's the ghost image to the right and somewhat below the moon. And that should be, like, it looks, on my screen it's looking pretty soft. It's looking out of focus. But I have a feeling it should be relatively sharp. I'll take a look at that later. I'll do some stills. So I'm going to change the exposure here. I'm going to play with the exposure compensation and bring it down as, okay, so that's 3 stops down. That's as far as I can go in terms of automatic exposure compensation. Right now we're in, I think, aperture preferred priority. Yeah. So I normally shoot in manual, but even in manual, this camera has a tendency to use auto ISO in video mode. I haven't figured out how to get out of that. But yeah, I think we're going to stop now and switch to manual, so I have better control over the exposure. And yeah, the interesting clouds have gone away, and we'll just see. I'm noticing the ghost image of the moon is now below it. I will readjust the exposure to get the ghost image. So there, I went all the way up the other way. So that's, in terms of auto exposure compensation, that's 2 stops above, and we can see the ghost image of the moon, reddish ghost image. The shutter speed, as I said, 30 to the second, f11, middle aperture, and the ISO currently at 12,800. That's quite high and noisy, obviously.